Every year on June 24th, a Mass is celebrated at Cheonjinam Shrine to commemorate the founding of the Catholic Church in Korea. Why is this Mass held on June 24th? Because it is the feast day of the servant of God, John Baptist Ibyok. Cheonjinam Shrine is revered as the birthplace of the Catholic Church in Korea and enshrines the remains of the 5 founding ancestors of the Korean Catholic Church. Ibyok, Yi-sung-hun, Kwan-il-shin, Kwan-cheol-shin, and Jong-yak-jong are faith ancestors who played a leading role in founding the Korean Catholic Church. Among them, John Baptist Ibyok was the intellectual and spiritual leader of the first Catholic community. The beginning of the Catholic Church in Korea goes back to the winter of 1784 at Ibyok's house near Supyo Bridge, where one of the first Catholic gatherings was held and then developed in earnest after the meetings moved to the house of Kim Byomu in Myeongbang. In a way unique in church history, lay people themselves discovered the Catholic faith and formed the church, and witnessed to it with their lives. This was the beginning of the church in Korea. Unlike other countries where missionaries first brought the faith, in Joseon, lay scholars studied Western learning texts such as The True Meaning of the Lord of Heaven from China, and through their own study, the church grew as a self-founded community of faith. At the center of this movement was John Baptist Yi-byok. When Yi-byok heard that his friend Yi-sung-hun would accompany his father to Beijing as part of a diplomatic mission, he learned that Yi-sung-hun would travel to Beijing, and he asked him to visit a Catholic church there and receive baptism, as well as to bring back catechisms and sacred objects. In the winter of 1783, Yi-sung-hun went to Beijing, and in the spring of 1784, he was baptized there by Jesuit Father Jean-Joseph de Gramont. Becoming the first Korean to receive baptism, he then returned to Joseon with catechisms and religious articles. Together, Yi-byok and Yi-sung-hun studied these books, and their academic interest deepened into faith. Yi-byok received baptism from Yi-sung-hun at his house near Supyo Bridge, and they gathered believers at Kim Byomu's house in Myeongbang, forming the first Catholic community in Korea. Before this community fully emerged, there had been scholarly gatherings at Gyeonggi-do Temple in Cheonjinam. Gyeonggi-do is an old Buddhist temple site, now remaining only as ruins, and Cheonjinam was not a rock name, but a hermitage attached to Gyeonggi-do. Kwan-cheol-shin, a respected Silhak scholar and disciple of Seong-ho Yi-ik, held winter study sessions at Gyeonggi-do in Cheonjinam with fellow scholars. And in the winter of 1779, Yi-byok also took part in these meetings. For about 10 days, they studied Confucian classics alongside Western learning texts, learning basic Catholic teachings such as the existence of God, divine providence, and the immortality of the soul, and grew interested in Catholic doctrine. From this time, the first seeds of Catholic faith began to sprout in Korea. To the left past the entrance to the shrine stands Gwangju Church, built in memory of the servant of God, Yi-byok. Daily Mass at the shrine is usually celebrated here. Walking up the hill along the way of the cross, you come to a large cross. At the top lies the wide site reserved for the future Grand Church, where the Mass commemorating the founding of the Korean Catholic Church is celebrated every June 24th. To the left of the cathedral site stands a huge statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary. This 22-meter, 25-ton statue, modeled after Our Lady of Fatima, is called Our Lady of World Peace. Officially named Our Lady of World Peace, Overcoming Atheism, it links the Fatima message of peace to the Korean Church and the situation on the Korean Peninsula, and calls people to pray for world peace, religious freedom, and especially peace between North and South Korea. From here, the Rosary Way begins and encircles the shrine grounds. Behind the great statue stands Our Lady's Church. Completed in 1998, it is usually closed and opened mainly for large masses or special events. On this visit, I received special permission to film its interior. Leaving Our Lady's Church and passing the cathedral site to the right, you enter a forest path. This path leads to the most important place here, the cemetery of the 5 founding ancestors of the Korean Catholic Church. The scholar Dasan Jong-yak-yong wrote the following in the epitaph for Kwon Cheol-shin in the Yeoyudang Jonseo. In the winter of the year Gihai, 1779, there was a study meeting at Cheonjinam. Ibyuk came through the snow from Gyeonggi-do, lit a candle, and discussed the classics. On that bitterly cold winter night, Gwangju-si, searching for the truth, finally knocked at the door of the study at Cheonjinam. With his knowledge of Western learning and science, he quickly captivated Kwon Cheol-shin and the other scholars. From then on, at Cheonjinam, they studied and discussed God and Catholic doctrine day and night. And here the first shoots of Catholic faith in Korea began to grow. The scholars who gathered here found in the Catholic faith an answer to the limits of Confucianism and their search for truth, and later were the first to spread the faith and build up the church in Joseon, eventually giving their lives for the faith, and now honored as founding ancestors of the Korean Catholic Church. The fact that young people of that time searched so earnestly for truth and found their answer in the Catholic faith gives a powerful message to us living today. Cheonjinam was long forgotten in history until the Diocese of Suwon began purchasing the land in the 1970s and started to develop it into today's Cheonjinam Shrine. In 1979, the remains of the servant of God Yi Byok, found in Pocheon, were transferred here, and in 1981, the remains of Jong-yak-jong, Yi Sung-hun, Kwon Cheol-shin, and Kwanil-shun were also brought, completing the present cemetery of the 5 founding ancestors. Going back down the path, you reach a fork leading to the tombs of the founders of the Apostolic Vicariate of Chosun. From here, the climb is steep, so it is not recommended for those with weak legs or poor stamina. From this point, a serious uphill mountain path of just over 1 kilometer begins. Here lie the martyrs who requested the establishment of the Apostolic Vicariate of Chosun and played a decisive role in inviting missionaries. St. Paul, Jung Ha-sang, St. Augustine Eugene-gil, and Blessed Charles Jong-cheol-sang. Next to them is the cemetery of the direct descendants of the founding ancestors of the Korean Catholic Church. Following the paved road down for some distance, you arrive back at the Cheonjinam Shrine parking lot. Today I have introduced Cheonjinam Shrine once again. From now on, I plan to make a pilgrimage series following the history of the church in Korea. If you follow these videos and make this pilgrimage with me, naturally learning the history of the Korean church, I hope it will be of some help to your life of faith. I may be lacking, but I will do my best. I hope you will stay with this channel to the end, and I pray today for all who watch, for those battling illness, and for those in need of peace of heart. May the Lord's consolation and grace be with you. Thank you.